Hi guys, and today I'll be playing SOREKARA, End of a Journey. It is said space is an impossibly cold, dark, and lifeless expanse. But people who say such things have never really seen it. They've never seen the masterful meadows, or the light dances, or the schools of comets that fly by so fast you would miss them if you blinked. They never heard the rumbling across the galactic rails or the blabbling of freshly sowed souls coming into their own through fogs of memory. Such foolish people could never see it, because what is essential is invisible to the eyes. They've never truly been there, and they almost certainly have never heard a story like this. The trolley was filled with laughing, cooing excitement, and fascinated passengers pressed their whiskers to the windows to catch sight of the comets outside. Tails swished back and forth on glints of silver tickets, flashed between the crowds of bodies as a young girl with a basket moved between them. One for you, one for you, one for you too. Gifts were exchanged for polite thank yous as passengers marveled at the fantastical expanse outside. Far in the distance, there was a crack as a purple shock of lightning flew from the dark and off a nearby comet. Ooze overtook the car. There was warmth, there was light. The only spark of life in the bustling trolley was a pitiful creature curled up in the farthest corner, gloved hands and an iron grip around his knees. He was still, except for the small tremors that came from the car's unnatural rumbling along the tracks, or when another jovial passenger bumped into his side. His eyes were fixed on the floor, and the spots visible between people. The happy din grew as he shrunk himself further into himself. Go ahead, have one. A small hand reached out with a paper flower pinched between the fingers. The flower was identical to many contained in the girl's wicker basket, but the craftsmanship was remarkable regardless. The bud of the flower was kissed of brilliant crimson. Looking out, the other passengers had their own crimson buds. It was like a garden for the dead. Go on, take it. No need to be so shy. The creature, huddled into himself, watched without making any movement. The brilliant crimson flower was pushed forward ever so slightly. Where are you going? Are you going far away too? If you are, then these flowers are good. They won't die. I made them myself, see? I painted them so nicely. You don't have to be afraid, they're only paper. The stranger looked up at the girl with a harrowed face. His mouth hung open slightly, but not a word escaped. Perhaps it had been so long the thing forgot how to speak. His arms loosened around his knees, uncurling from his cocoon. Are you going far away like me? Not really. Oh, me and Mama and Papa and everyone. We got a long way to go. We're all going to the great beyond. Do you have a ticket? You have to hold it tight, or you can't get there. That's what I heard. You don't talk a lot, do you? Sorry. She was so bold, it was difficult for the stranger to reply. His voice came out cracked, as if the words had been abandoned on a dusty shelf, and he was just now pulling them down. She sighed in annoyance. She was so lively for somebody fresh off the mortal coil. Her form was confident and colorful. The girl knew herself completely. If you're going to be mousy about it, I'll just... No, wait, Tentatively, he reached out. The girl's eyes widened as she saw that the skin between his gloves and coat was threaded through with black tendrils. The marks made their way up to his arm and disappeared beneath the cloth. Inky black tendrils darker than the darkest night. Stings of something sinister had embedded itself into his skin, and it was digging deeper than she could see. But still, his hand was outstretched. Hurry up, it's time to go. The trolley was slow to a stop. The voices simmered down into anxious whispers, and the crowd timidly began to filter through the door and into the great beyond. The motorman, a level-headed beast, nodded at each glittering ticket before permitting the passenger to leave. White cat after white cat quietly disappeared. Hurry now. The flower girl's parents stood at the end of the trolley, beckoning her to come with them. It's time for me to go. Make sure to hold on to your ticket, all right? She quickly pressed the flower into his hand. Not just that, but she set her basket down in front of him before turning and rushing after the remnants of the crowd. The last of the souls filtered out of the trolley, the spattering of dropped flowers across the floor, the only evidence of their journey. The bright clamor that was bordering on deafening had now been sucked away. just empty air and the light hum of the electrical lights. "Are you heading off, son?" The motorman stood patiently at the front. The last passenger shook his head. It wasn't his time. Still a ways to go then. Better get comfortable. The motorman resumed his previous position at the wheel. The stranger turned to the window, where the last of the white cats could be seen, flickering in and out, surrounded by halos of light, heads bent forward in prayer. They formed a line across the cosmos, waltzing off the tracks and into the unknown with steady steps that betrayed no fear. The colors of their dresses began to fade, and the lines of their faces melted away. The farther their souls walked, the more they looked like little white candles until the flames, so tiny in the distance, became pinpricks, and then nothing. Nothing upon oceans and seas of nothing. The stranger brought the flower up to his nose. He heard that flower smelled nice. But there was nothing. He could only feel the stagnant air with the electrical hum tumbling through it. One day, I'll be a candle too. I'll burn bright and disappear just like that. It was a wonderful thought, to go out with a halo just the same. But looking at his wrist, the one bleeding with an inky black darkness that could not be scrubbed away, he knew how ridiculous that wish was. He tugged at his sleeve and leaned back. Out of heaven and into his own personal hell. If you were to look up into the sky that night, you might have been able to catch it, a small streak of light, and the softest whisper of wheels turning, weaving itself between clusters of stars. On it went, the car that delivered souls to the great beyond, never slowing down or missing a stop. The dependable, the inevitable, the mostly unseen, with his last living passenger and his basket of flowers that would never die. Chapter 1. Sunrise Angel. Sunrise, St. Catherine's Crossing, a place of partings and prayers. It appears it was once a place of worship, but the hands of time and space eroded its borders until it became nothing but a pile of rubble. The place was repurposed by the Bureau as a stop for various vehicles along the galactic railways. It is a quiet, somber place, but it is rumored that visiting it would bring good fortune. Stepping off the trolley and onto the path, the traveler was greeted with a decaying ruin bathed in sunless light. The motorman, who had left him asleep in his seat, could be seen squatting near the edge or the rubble with another uniformed worker. A chill ran through him. "It's too cold. I tried to stay up, but the ride was too long. It's cold now. I should have fallen asleep." He clenched one shaking hand across his chest and the other. Nothing could be done about the other. He had brought the basket of flowers with him, and something in him refused to let it go. "That's what's called a gift, right? Can't just leave it behind. If I do, it will be like they were never there at all." The chill resurfaced. It was perhaps better to walk around than return to the ghostly memory of the night before. Oh, we can click on stuff. I had no idea. Sitting at the edge of the galactic shore, the motor beast from the last trolley and a man made of suit were chatting happily to each other. It seemed to be a ritual of theirs established after many years on the rails. With their lunch tins situated between them, the two motormen sat comfortably watching the stars. Strangely, they ignored the benches in favor of squatting. "Finally woke, did ya? Sounds like those sweet dreams tossed you like a hay-sack. I can't say that. Tragedy. So it was the comet's bidding. How are you now, pup? Bootstraps been pulling ya?" "Oh, I don't have any bootstraps." And the comet did fly overhead, missing its sanctuary yonder. "Oh-ho, as bold as they can be, I say." It flew as brilliantly as any comet could, for sparking away as every comet should. Is he speaking in, poems, or? I'm so confused. "Ignore him, pup. 'Tis a literally pain in me arse, say." Okay. Click on this. "Long nights are poison, pup. So we bask in our remedies. that poisoned us further. The walrus took a swig from one of the bottles, and a cloud of steam escaped his whiskers. Instantly his face became serene. Candied, brandied, spick and spandied. Sudi, you don't make a lick of so sense. Here, take a swig and come to ye senses. Oh, I can't do his accent. Is that shrimp? The juxtaposed tin boxes were overflowing with strange little morsels. On the left, there was a bundle of empty shells and skewered fleshy blobs. On the right, coal? Hi, pup, want a bite? I'm not hungry. Suit yourself. As the walrus barked, the sooty creature joyfully popped a lump of coal into his mouth. There was a flash of light from his seams and a small puff of satisfaction. And let's click on you. The walrus's dark, twinkling eyes scanned the stranger up and down. His gaze rested on the basket of flowers and he chuckled softly. I paper flowers. I made them as a kid. My mom was too sick for working, so we sit and make paper flowers day in and day out. Me flippers, I tell ye, blistered and blue. But I can't hate 'em. I can't hate 'em a bit. His face remained peaceful, even with such a painful memory. And how about you? Even with the talking walrus in his audience, the sturdy figure was far a stranger. He was dressed in well-ironed, if not well-worn railway uniform, his scarf tucked into his crisp collar with care. Notably, the mouth on his sleeves was as sooty as the ground below him. Flickers of light could be seen flashing where his mouth should be. He brought chunks of coal from his lunchbox up to his face and chomp. They disappeared with a spark. Let's go up to here. Maybe long ago, it was a magnificent plate. Maybe there were sermons, maybe they were singing. The walls were painted in gorgeous murals of saintly beings and the windows certainly caught light with wondrous color. But it was clear that everything described was wiped away by some lost incident, as tragic as war or mundane as the passage of time. One could only stand and wait for answers that nobody remembered. Both the glory and the downfall have been wiped from memory. And let's go here next. In contrast to the ruins behind them, the signs looked comparatively new. The lettering was scratched and the paint was chipping around the top, but they still bore the bureau insignia with mildly worn pride. They read, Ganymede, 500 knots. Gemini Strait, 1200 knots. Please have your tickets ready for departure. May fate lead you to the light. And may the light have mercy on you. I've always wondered what that meant. I better have mercy while I'm alive. Well, can't say no to that. The line between the dark and the rubble was dotted with peculiar handmade fishing poles. The poles were held up by humble piles of stone. String was knotted to the ends, and line cast far, far off into the ocean with space, with no movement besides that of the solar wind. I saw something like this on the mission once. They're for catching trout, but I thought you could only catch those in water. I haven't seen any trout out here. Is there something else? The traveler kneeled to look over the edge, but alas, no trout, just darkness with a few specks of light. Anything else? I think this is about it, honestly. Oh, there we go. And finally, there was a glittering sky. There were countless railways streaking across it with more slows flying along than one could imagine. Is she still out there? No, I watched her disappear. No matter how hard he looked, the flower girl would never reappear. There was something farther beyond the stars, something nobody could see, but even so, the stranger tilted his head upward. Skies like these were all the same. There was simply no end in sight. SOREKARA, end of a journey. No sleeping here. The exhaustion was becoming unbearable. The motormen were tending to their trolleys and there was no sign to be leaving any time soon, so the stranger had resorted to wandering in circles on the shore. The sky had remained the same twinkling dark the entire time. Here it was easy to believe that the sunrise would never come and that the trolleys would never depart. But there was one foreign element, the scent of something burning. What is that? A thin strand of smoke was twisting through the air, twisting, turning, tumbling from the end of a cigarette in the mouth of a man, watching the false horizon, hands deep in his pockets and body completely still. His weight rested on the remains of the building behind him. The image was so tranquil that the wanderer felt he shouldn't even be here. His presence was like smudging your thumb across a fine oil painting. Time came to a halt. Every brushstroke was perfectly in place. Then, the smoky man's eyes flicked to the side, and the wary stranger became a part of the painting as well. The man's hands were not to the box in his breast pocket, but to the inside of his coat, where he produced a little metal box of cigarettes. He cracked it open and held it out. A peace offering, a welcoming gift? It was a familiar gesture. The stranger still failed to fully comprehend. But the image of the girl on the trolley surfaced, and his hands went to the basket at his side. He stretched out his arms just the same. And the bud of paper pinched between the fingers, the petals painted red and bright. For me? For you. The man's lackadaisical smile broke into a stifled laugh. He gritted his teeth down harder around his cigarette so it wouldn't go flying off in the middle of his fit. To think fortune would come my way now of all times, that's real sweet. Thank you kindly. He plucked the flower from the stranger's hand, and after a moment of thought, tucked it behind his ear. The stranger watched nervously, taking the cigarette after a beat. Underneath was a slip of silver, the same as the ones as he's seen on the previous ride. So he's going far away too. How do I look? He's still talking to me. Everyone's talking so much on this entire trip. What does he want? Am I supposed to answer every time? I don't have anything to say. This is hard, way too hard. You look red. Well, thanks, I think. Here, let me give you a light. Following the lead of the other man, the stranger leaned against the crumbling wall and took a good deep inhale. The basket of flowers was at his side. What is it supposed to be? It tastes dirty. Ugh, it burns a little. Oh, he's coughing. You doing alright there, bud? Tastes like a fireplace. Well, exhaling normally helps. Why don't you give it a go? Whew. Tastes the same. It's in my nose. What kind of place you have to come from not to know about cigarettes? I figure with your looks, you'd be a fiend for them. Where did you come from? That was a difficult question. How could he answer in a way that made sense? Even the memory of a place was enough to freeze him over. I'm not from anywhere. But instead of pressing further, the man simply let the moment pass and blew out a sleepy puff of smoke. His eyes ghosted the horizon. It was a look the stranger had seen many times on wayward passengers, one that was not quite sad, not quite happy, just a little far away. Same here. Pretty lucky that we should meet, huh? I've met a few people out here. They're plenty nice, but they've all got places to be. He cut himself off with another deep drag. Well, Mr. Nowhere, you'll let me call you something, won't you? I don't have anything to say. I can't use that name anymore. But he doesn't seem to mind whatever I say. I won't see him after this, so it doesn't really matter. You can call me Vash. Pleasure to meet you, Vash. People call me Ross. Name goes a little longer, but it's better cut short, don't you agree? It's fine. So harsh. Youch. It wasn't so bad watching the sky with somebody we never met. It was just then, in that pocket of time before the sunrise, that might never come, that he felt like he would like to be that way forever. Sitting, smoking, talking about things carelessly, even if the taste was like licking a fireplace. But in the space between the sea of stars and the deep blue, there was a crack where Vash could see time ticking away. The silver in the cigarette case, it was like all the others before. It was a mark of something. So you're going far away? That I am. Don't really know what that means though. It's not like they gave you a pamphlet. You? I can't yet. Well, that's good. Although you ought to spend your time elsewhere. Guys like me are no good. No, you are good. Oh, me? You're a good person. I'm a good person. Hey, maybe I I could even be the best person. Probably not. Whatever you say. Ross tossed aside his cigarette and bent down to sit side by side with Bash. He tapped his temple and, with a knowing grin, tilted his head to the shore. That itself was inexplicable. The sound of waves was coming from a place with no water, and dipping your hand in would result in nothing more than cold air. But there was a face obscured by the reflected stars. There was a nose and eyes and mouth, but they were all out of place due to the shifting air. It all swirled together to create an unrecognizable impression mist. I've been wondering about this the whole time. A person? Nope, better. An angel. See? He gestured to the mist. Around the mess of features was a faint white, and above the head was what might have been a halo. Bash furrowed his eyebrow. I don't understand. Am I supposed to be looking at something specific? So I was thinking, it's probably reflected from up there. He pointed to the wall behind them, smiling more than ever. Hidden away all secret-like. Ain't that something? Just a little mystery for the two of us. You can look at it fine from here. But it's all mysterious. Don't it make you curious? Not really. Loosen up, tough guy. Say it make you curious. Go on. So curious. That was way too easy. I just did what he said. I don't see the problem here. His space is too much. Will you do me a favor and spin around 3 times, hop on one leg? Give a little song and dance while you're at it. Are you having fun? Just trying to see how gullible you are. Gullible, you know. How well you can bark. Woof? Oh dear. You better watch yourself on these rails, friend. You could fall in some very dangerous crowds. Anyhow, upsy daisy. Suddenly the man bent his knees and held out his cupped hand with an expectant look. In response, Bash's hand went to the basket another time. What? No, you're going up. Come on. Be a dear and take a look from me, won't you? You could look yourself. I couldn't, unless you think you could lift me up a good 6 feet. And I'm sorry to break you, Tiger, but you look like you're struggling to lift that basket of yours. Now quit being ordinary and hop on. As if anticipating a burn, he hesitantly stepped on into the other man's hand. Hey, you know you're alive as a bird, right? Do you eat at all? I try not to. What? No, that's no good. It's one thing if you don't got money, but it's another if you do it on purpose. Push me up more. Can't see it yet. I was telling you something important. A face peeked out to meet Bash's own. Oh, an angel. Actually, there were 2 faces. Tucked away behind a stone was a person bent over in prayer, and above them another was extending their arms with their lips nearly pressed to the forehead. It was completely untarnished. The rest of the building was in shambles, but this spot alone was safe, colors as bright as the day was painted. The image felt like something he shouldn't see. The hands around the face made his chest hurt, and the distance between the two was eliminated with a kiss. You find anything out there? It's here. It was just on the inside. On the inside, all secret-like. No way! It's a super dirty picture, ain't it? No, it's clean up here. I don't see any scratches or dirt. Yeah, well, tell me about the angel. It was the one with wings, right? Who decided that? And that thing on its head makes no sense. If they knew what angels were really like, they wouldn't be so impressed. They have feathers like a bird, and this golden thing on their head, the halo, and there's another person too. They seem to be very close. So it is a dirty picture. Ross, what's so good about angels? You really have to ask? Actually, I hadn't thought that far. If you meet one, you'll be blessed and have lots of good luck. Unless it's an angel of death, of course. If you meet one of those, well, that's what they say. Doesn't matter at this point. Even if it's an angel of death, I don't think I would mind. People spend their whole lives looking for miracles. It would only make sense to come across something like that eventually. I don't have any place to complain. What's one more tragedy? Just being able to say I met one would be enough for me. You're easy to please. It's 'cause I'm such a good guy. What was that? From the wall came a sharp scratching sound and several clues. There was the distinctive ruffling of feathers, and Vash fell back in surprise. Ah! Two white birds burst forth from the wall and flew over Vash's shoulders. As they passed, he could feel their feathers brush the sides of his face. He saw white and then glittering sky, and then he knew his body was crashing down. Vash! Ah! Splash. There was the unmistakable sound of water despite nothing but cool air meeting his skin. Underneath was the depths of space, but somehow he didn't fall through. Vash sat at the edge of the universe, the red paper flowers knocked over by the commotion, sinking into the sound of the shore. Hey, are you alright? I was worried you'd go spinning off to space. The flowers there. The flowers the girl had so lovingly crafted were being carried away. Some were even sinking beneath the illusionary waves, drifting off into the dark until they disappeared from sight. The flowers, the cats, everyone, everything. They floated into the dark, leaving Vash behind. He turned over to catch the falling buds, but Ross's footsteps made him stop. Just leave him be. Don't want you falling in too. You were a gift. Look up a second, why don't you? Vash lifted his head, and he saw the brilliant, impossible sunrise. Now in that abandoned little shop, between nowhere and nothing, the sun rose over the glittering ocean of stars. It didn't make sense for it to happen. Perhaps it was a mirage. Time here was a mere suggestion. But no matter how impossible, the sun still rose, and two travelers watched as the light blanketed everything in a beautiful, fresh glow. Every crater was illuminated, every scar was uncloaked. The air around Vash shimmered as if it was water catching stars. For the first time, Vash was bathed in light. Beautiful. I haven't seen this happen before. I mean, I didn't think it would happen. But were you looking this whole time? I was thinking this would be a nice place for a sunrise, but I've had to say, it's probably an angel's doing. False oceans, false angels, false sunrises, and a man who would believe it all. The whimsical talk was thick through its stomach. But somehow, maybe he was an angel after all. That's the spirit. Ross pulled a flower from behind his ear and held it down. The last of her gift, the rest that floated away. You can keep it. You sure? It seemed important to you. It was a gift. It's supposed to be given away, I think. So you can have it. It's like Christmas Day for me. Christmas. You really did come from nowhere. Come on, let's get you out of here. With one hand, he stuck the flower into his pocket. With the other, he offered assistance. Out of the ocean, back onto land. The face of the angel sparkled more than ever in the glow of the impossible sunrise. What's this? Oh. Lines eroding. Lines eroding. The body was eroding. Without a body to contain it, the XXXX was pouring out. Rivers and lakes and oceans of that poured out of the body and into the air. No, there wasn't even air, just nothing. So much nothing that sound could not travel through it. That blank was crushed into a fine powder as soon as it bled out. Crushed, absorbed, withering away, blown apart by airless wind. A whistle of pain squeezed out of blank and died before it was even born. It was a ferocious chill that tore away at the dust of the remains, but he could not feel it. No, just nothing forever. Just a sensation on a body that wasn't there anymore. He was bodiless and voiceless, but he could feel his teeth and tongue and blank that poured between them. What happens to a voice that has nowhere to go? Because of this place, he knew. It makes circles in the skies forever and ever, circles of sadness that nobody sees. Help me. One terrible cry followed another. Vash threw himself up from his seat and fell back down immediately as his legs gave away. The sound of the floorboards, the creak of the wheels, the grind of metal against metal clashed horribly with a harsh crack booming right around the window. Everything was zapped in an electric purple light before sinking into darkness again and again. He woken up to a terrible thrashing. The panicked traveler struggled to stay in his seat as the car thundered and screamed. A A rain of snapping came against the window behind him, and he saw blistering hot bullets of shattered meteorite pelting the glass before burning away, burning brighter and then darkness over and over. It's cold. In the ribbons of light, he saw his glove. It pulled itself nearly off his fingers. Black rivers in his skin. Black like the dream he kept seeing, like the thing buried at the center of his chest. And from these rivers, blank poured out, "Help me, help me, help me, somebody, please." Another bolt of lightning hit the rails, and in that brief flash, Vash saw a hand reaching out. Who's? You talked at the last stop. God, you're shaking yourself to pieces. Just sit tight, okay? Through the rapturous din came careful steps. 1, 2, 3, careful, careful through the storm. The sound disappeared, and the car shook and returned when it was safe to move. Vash sat fearfully, trying to judge the distance, but the chill took him again, and when he saw the fingertips reach the square of light from the window, he found himself scrambling forward to catch them. "Wait a minute, I'll come to you. Sit right there, or you'll hurt yourself." But the starved and freezing traveler still threw his hand forward and made contact. His glove had fallen away someplace during the turbulence, so that there was nothing that came between them. Rash thought of the inky black rivers that were wound up on his wrist and into the palm of his hand. He thought how he should find his gloves and cover them up. He pictured that sickness somehow crawling from him to this kind person who grabbed his wrist and sat down beside him as the meteors pelted the ceiling. He thought of it, but he couldn't move the way he wanted to. Shaking and confused, he searched the man's hand with his fingers until in desperation he brought the hand up to his face and stayed there as quietly as the storm continued on. The chill began to melt. The movement all around him calmed, and miraculously the thundering of the rails faded as he followed the sound of life in the hand. His thumb moved to the wrist, and he was met with a slow, steadying beating. There, it's just a storm. The first one for sure. The driver says they aren't dangerous. A light show at most. Nothing to worry about. Look there. Ross made a sound, and Vash glanced across the car to see one of the windows had been cracked open slightly. Well, that's not good. A few meteor pellets fell through the crack and fizzled brightly on the ground below. See? No worse than a bee sting. It's all bark. It's pouring out. Just a little. It's not so bad. It's pouring out and I can't make it stop. I get cold all the time, and I'm tired, but I can hear it. There's a sound in there. You mean my heartbeat? The pelting of the meteors and the heartbeat both come together in a steady rhythm. The wide expanse of dark that was once pouring out felt a little more contained, at least in the hand of the stranger. Ross, you know the angel we saw? What about it? Is that really the way we look to you? Do people really think angels have wings and halos? That we fly around and give blessings? I don't understand at all. Who decided that? Who told that lie? It's not like that. The place you call heaven is colder than you can imagine. You've all been lied to. Angels you believe in never existed. Ahaha. Flash, what are you? I got thrown away, Ross. When an angel doesn't do things right, you get thrown away. There aren't any wings or halos or blessings or heartbeats. It's just cold all the time. The words came tumbling out. The angel hadn't spoken so much in his entire life, and now his voice wouldn't stop. So much was pent up from the years in captivity. He was overtaken by bitter memories, the steely commands and far-away lands. An overwhelming sense of loneliness became angry tears in somebody's hands. The strongest sensation of all was the moment he was tossed away. It was as if a knife had cut something out of him, and the wound was pouring out ever since. I wish I'd died back there instead of this. Hey, listen. There it is, the same steady beating. Even with the car being tossed around, it stayed the same. The angel waited. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. What do you think about that, huh? Sounds pretty real. Well, that's a lie, too. Because somewhere, my real body is 6 feet under. There wasn't a drop of bitterness in his voice. It was as if his mind was made up a long, long time ago, or as if he was talking about someone else entirely. With the way his mouth twitched, he looked like he could even laugh. I always heard stories about what happens when you die, but I never thought it'd be like this. It's not that bad. Even if the trip was long, even if angels don't have wings, it's not that bad at all. I don't gotta live anymore, and I get to keep my heartbeat too. And if that helps someone, then I've done at least one good thing. Bash's eyes turned up, and he saw the man was looking back at him, half his face illuminated by the dissipating storm. The car was now a soft purple as the lightning strikes continued to hit, albeit gentler, with the ear-splitting cracks reduced to a whisper. His expression was the same as the day they first met, calm and without judgment. But Vash saw the rumble of the previous stop, and how the sunrise had washed over it. How it was beautiful, and how much it looked like a graveyard. Don't say things like that. You can't just laugh, not after all that. I can, because I got to meet an angel after all. And I told you, it's like Christmas Day. It doesn't matter to you what kind of angel I am. Nope. You really are a good person. If you say it, I'll believe it. The man reached his arms around the angel, and then he was all around him. Vash suddenly became aware of how cold he was with that warmth, how much he shook in his stillness, how empty he was with the echo reverberating through him. He knew he was empty, but the lack of distance made it difficult to tell what belonged to who. Pouring in, pouring out. Lines eroded but held in place. Somewhere from the pocket, perhaps, a gentle melody played. After the storm, the weary traveler let his head fall forward and took solace in a bored heartbeat. We're on to Chapter 2, Phantom at Noon. Light poured from the windows along with a delicate scent of flowers. Everything in the car was bathed in a gentle glow. The driver at the front was cackling to himself softly. His only two passengers were spending the ride relaxing in the sun. It was an undeniably odd arrangement. Every day the two would play cards or stare out the window and eat their meals at a distance, one man on either side of the car. But come time for bed, Vash would walk up orderly and claim some part of the other man for himself. His arm, back, knee, whatever it was, threw his head down on it and refused to move until his 8 hours were up. He would ball up his fists and squeeze his eyes shut so it looked like he was eating something sour. He never let out so much as a whimper like that. It was a completely odd arrangement, but Ross hadn't pushed him off yet, so we continued. This feeling is pretty familiar. What's it? It's like when you give a dog a chicken leg at a dinner table, and they take it as an invitation. Yep, that's what it is. Practically ignores me the whole damn day, then calls back when he eats something. Even a dog wouldn't do that. That's a cat thing. We'll be making a stop for maintenance in due time, passengers. Until maintenance ends, you'll be free to wander as you wish. You hear that, Mr. Cat? You get to run around all over while Suji over here greases his wheels. No response. Ash's mouth was pulled taut as he jostled around in Ross's half-asleep leg. This guy's ridiculous. Hey, Sudi, give that whistle a yank again. I bet you a nickel he won't wake up. A nickel for a whistle? Once more the whistle blared. The result was just as expected. Through galactic storms and creaking wheels, Vash always slept the deepest when attached to him in some way. The night terrors haven't returned since the night of their meeting. As long as he gets in peace, it's alright with me. But damn it, don't scratch up your face so much. You're gonna get wrinkles. Leaning closer, he could see through the strands of hair and swath of dark tendrils. There was a light line connecting one eyebrow to the other. His eyebrows are connected. I wonder if he knows that. Suddenly the trolley screeched to a stop, and any poor passenger enjoying the day was suddenly thrown off their seat and onto the hard wooden floorboards with a startling force. And so the star-crossed comets flew into space out of view. Dear Lord, how about a warning next time, yeah? In due time, is what I said. It was all to wake the sleepyhead. Morning. Good noon to you, Mr. Cat. How's your noggin? I believe you dove face first thanks to our host's skills at the wheels. My noggin is sleepy. An artist with words, aren't ya? Swaying on his feet, Vash reached out a gloved hand to catch Ross's sleeve. What is it now? Please, let me borrow this. My arm? Nod, nod. Somewhere in the back, Suhat was snickering to himself. Dear Lord, I've gone too far. He doesn't just think he gets to dinner. Now he thinks he gets breakfast and lunch too. Totally shameless. Quick, Ross. We'll shake the guy off. All right, but you gotta bark for it. Woof. Are you gonna fall from that every time? Or you really have no shame at all, do you? But I do. I have a lot of shame. Look, Bass, I was just... stick a sock in his sooty. Time was ticking, die were cast. The candle's flame was short to last. And with that, the strange ornament scuttled away with a puff of soup behind him. What a weird guy. It'd help if he said things normally, but he's off spouting nonsense left and right. And then there's you, worrying me all over the place. Hey Vash, are you gonna let go of my arm anytime soon? Sleepy. Hand still in an iron grip on his sleeve, the angel's eyes fluttered close as they entered a restful slumber. Get up already. It was a completely odd arrangement, but the days had become so peaceful since their meeting, neither one could argue with the results. It's noon, meadow a baby's breath. Because of the shifting nature of the fields, this area can only be entered by accident and thus is not properly documented. Travelers have reported seeing ghostly figures wandering the horizon. In more extreme cases, recreations of bygone memories have lured travelers deeper into the fields. It's suspected that the area is not a physical place, but instead its own sentient entity. Interesting. Sounds dangerous. The curtains of endless night had transformed into something else entirely. Chilly winds became nothing more than the winter-warm breeze, and the pinprick of stars was replaced with a spray of baby's breath. Sitting on the top of the trolley with the invisible sun beating down, Ross took a deep drag of a freshly lit cigarette. He held it to the motorman. Want a puff? He was met with a small wave. Suit yourself. Looking up, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. There weren't any buildings around either, just small dots that might have been trees. The distance made it impossible to tell. The wide open space combined with the absolute soundless created an unexpected feeling of unease. Just as it seemed, the sunrise would never come at the previous stop. Here the night was all too far away. This place is putting me in a bad mood. It's a bunch of grass, Ross. No need to get worked up. But the silence and the cigarette weren't doing him any good. Here things are a little greener, a little softer, but they still carry that same empty, out-of-place feeling. Like if you were calling out to someone, they would never answer back. Just a voice in the breeze with no place to go. There's no point in thinking of it, but it never was. No bones, no dust. I doubt the field is there anymore. Wow. The melancholia was cut short by a yelp from down below. Ross leaned over in an instant with suit hat off for nothing more than his usual relaxed cackle. Oh, the little suits? Dust bunnies? Underneath their feet, Vash was shuffling through a cloud of bobbing soot. There were small sparks of firelight interspersed, high-pitched, eerily familiar crackling. Well, I'll be damned. Suit hat, you never told me you had kids. Not kin, but compatriots, my comment. As we two lay like kings, my friends work where their hands cannot reach and my eyes do not see. Observe. The strange wonder man made circles in the air with his finger. Faster and faster he went, and miraculously the gaggle of soup creatures below made rings in time. He drew his finger out further, and with a flick of his wrist, the soup fog froze around Vash, who stood petrified. His fingers produced a snap and a shock of light that commanded the crowd to scramble away. Under the trolley, in through the windows, out of sight they went, leaving Vash standing awkwardly in a puddle of soup. Ooh, that's real impressive. So you're the boss of those little guys? Well, the boss of bosses. Although the bureau does not compensate me as such. So even Sudi has his own lone little tragedies. Tragedy most plump, Comet. Vash finally found his place on top of the trolley alongside the others. He brushed off the side of his arm nervously, searching for residual soot, exhaustion still wearing his face. That was scary. Hopefully that scare woke you up a little. Hey, aren't you warm? You're bundled up in that coat like we're still out in space. How cold. It's practically summer out here. Suhak has to wear a big coat. Why can't I? Not because Sudi is a weirdo. He gets to do what he wants. Also, he's the boss. Dare to question the boss of bosses? Yeah, the boss of bosses. Is that how it works? If I become the boss of bosses, I can wear a coat anytime I want? I think I understand now. What is it that I must do? At times like this, the angel's exhaustion would disappear to reveal a mischievous smile. Even Suri had to take a moment to parse the situation when he did. He simply nudged Ross, who in turn gave Vash's forehead a small flick. Ugh, no scheming allowed. Finished with his scolding, he passed the cigarette to Vash, who took it without thinking. It took only one puff and Vash passed it right back. After some thought, the question finally came forth. So, Vash, where are you going? Where? I mean, I'm heading off to this great beyond thing. Sudie here is driving and you... don't be like that. I don't mean to imply you aren't welcome, it's just, the trip is going to be pretty long. Isn't there some place you like to go, something you like to do? There isn't anything. Once again, there was that sad expression, like a dog in the rain. His arms instinctively wrapped around his knees, and he looked as pressing as the night the two first met. Realistically, they would have to part at some point, but seeing Vash go blank made it difficult to ask so many questions. To him, any such discussion stung as bad as the moment he was tossed away. I'm sorry, Vash. We'll talk about it another time. Hey, maybe on this trip you'll find something you like. How's that sound? Not done. The weight was finally lifted, or at least temporarily staved off. A light flashed behind Vash's eyes, and he turned to speak at the sudden realization. There is something I like. Oh, that's great. I like sleeping with you. Huh? Comets are flying rather close now. I mean, wow, gosh, it's sweet. Except you can't say stuff like that. Did I do something wrong? No. Just, people get the wrong idea is all. I didn't lie. Sure you didn't lie, Vash, but how do you say it? I'm gonna get a postmortem heart attack like this. I really did pick up an angel of death. But damn it, if you don't look sad. You know what? It's no problemo. It was a little skinship between friends. I was overthinking. Haha. A beat, then two. A moment of truth. Then, we're friends? We're not? It's just laughing. Shut up, you suit bag. It's been so long since the comics have given me a light show. What joy indeed. I feel like I did something wrong. It was only the natural path of your own heart, wayward comet. Such is the way of things. I let you draw on my leg all those nights, and you don't even call me your buddy. That's what I get for being easy. You are easy. I refuse to be surprised by anything that comes out of your pie hole starting now. Peaceful days like these have become routine. Laying on the top of the trolley with good company, good weather, and not a worry in the world. It felt overwhelmingly luxurious, enough to give the smoky man a stomachache. No use in feeling sour, no use in going back. The scent of flowers made his mouth curl up on reflex. Taking the bucket was the best thing that ever happened to me, huh? Happy like this, people who think I'm such a good guy. He breathed in until the cigarette was down to his fingers and snuffed out the remains on the bottom of his boot. Something was there. The horizon was spent with unintelligible figures, but standing there, unmistakably, was another person. She looked like a cloud about to blow away. Her white dress billowed around her, and she twirled her parcel like a halo around her head. Her face was obscured by a veil of white, so that every feature was smudged away by its movement. The baby's breath, the soundless sky, and now the woman? The little slice of paradise knew he was here, and now they were twisting the knife. Ross. Two pairs of hands caught his shoulder. Sooties and bashes, both urgent with their grip. They were the only things preventing Ross from tumbling face first off the roof, off the trolley. Yikes, that was a close one. Police is out to get me, I swear. Maintenance better end soon. Hearing the siren's call, the weary sailor lent his ear. Down to ocean waves he'd fall, honeyed words at last he'd hear. Alright, I'll be careful. I'm just tired from a certain somebody tossed me around in my sleep. Sorry. No sorries allowed. For good measure, Ross reached out and ruffled the poor angel's hair. Ugh. Guys have enough to worry about, so keep yourself in check, Ross. I'm going in for a while. Maybe some shade will do me good. He pulled himself up, stretched, and used the ladder at the edge of the roof to lower himself. The grass beneath his boots greeted him with soft whisper. The woman on the horizon was gone. Trains of thoughts are troubling, Whoa! Damn it, Sudi, how'd you get here so quiet? The rails demand it, Comet. I must inquire, did you perhaps see anything? Just more grass, really. 'Tis to be expected of a soul such as yours, wayward Comet. It is the way of things, yes, indeed. And just as suddenly as he appeared, the unnerving creature bounced away through the doors of the trolley. His usual cloud of soot was left in his wake. Nothing was pushed any further, and for that, Ross gave a relieved sigh. Well, there's at least one person here who still thinks I'm a good guy. He entered the trolley after him, grateful for the silence that ensued, but before closing the door he heard a whooshing. The unmistakable sound of wind through fabric, with laughter to follow it. It knows I'm here, he thought as he slumped onto one of the benches, covering his face in his coat like a curtain. Wishing, wishing, wishing. No, just a familiar lullaby. He pushed out the rest of the world with a song that came from the breast pocket and his only coat. Oh, hello, traveler. You come to the end of the current build. Don't worry, more is on the way. The secret of the phantoms, the ocean of starlight, the city of shadows and bittersweet goodbyes. You will meet them all in due time. Keep your eyes to the skies, traveler. The two lonely souls will surely find their way. Okay, and that is the end of the demo for SOREKARA and the Journey. Overall, the story feels like, well, it is a journey type of story, but yeah. I like it overall. It has a kind of like a bittersweet feeling to it, because I feel like when the full game comes out, it's going to be like, I have a sad ending to it, and they're going to have to all part ways at the end, basically. Or something's going to happen, bad's going to happen to Bash, seems like some type of darkness is consuming him or something. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video.